So now we're going to talk about the National Technical Assistance Center for Transition and also the Zaro Center. So let me take the video off. There we go. And here we go. So this is just the PowerPoint as far as this goes. One of the other things, oops, there we go. The National Technical Assistance Center on Transition Toolkit is available, and this is just 6 sections that they have. So they've got the rationale, what's post-secondary education and training, what skills do students need to succeed, how do students with disabilities plan to access post-secondary education and training, and what effective practices and strategies exist to prepare students. And then also what can be done to increase the likelihood of success once enrolled in a post-secondary education or training group. So let me just pull this off. Whoops. We'll go into the Zaro Center in a second. So this is NTech, and you can see that there's actually quite a significant amount of resources. They've got everything from annotated bibliographies, data tools, lesson plans, quick guides, and then these toolkits. And I really like the toolkits, so that's what I'm going to be focusing on. But I also want to show you they have effective practices, so you can go through and see, what are some of the practices that you could be using. And here's even more. Here's the taxonomy for transition programming 2.0, which we have talked about and Trainer talked about also. But there's a lot of literature maps of dropout prevention strategies if your school is looking at that. So there's a lot of really good resources here. Like I mentioned, we're actually looking at the toolkits. So I'm going to bring us to transition assessment, and that is a really fantastic toolkit. We'll just let it load for a second. That is available to all of our students, and you can see. Let me just scroll down here. Oops, there we go. So you can see they've got all the different age-appropriate assessments, and then sample instruments, and the survey of transition assessment planning practices and transition assessment implementation timelines. All of these things are really, really supportive towards you working with your students. So I'm just going to scroll down here because we know why. So here's a section on how do you select the instruments and methods. So just trying to figure out what is it, what age, and what are you trying to do with the assessments. So that's really convenient. Here's some websites that are also offering transition assessments. So you might want to use those. And then also here's some more products around that. And let's just see, whoops. Okay, this is the, let's go back. So that's one piece, one toolkit. Then there's also the post-secondary education and training, which is also really helpful. So I will go through that. And you can see here's the full toolkit, and then you've got the rationale, what is post-secondary education and training, what do students need to succeed, how do students with disabilities plan to access the post-secondary education and training, what effective practices and strategies exist to prepare students, and what can be done to increase the likelihood of success. So if you've got a student that wants to go to college or university or some sort of training program, then this is a really good resource for you. So what do they need to succeed, for example? And it gives you the academic skills, the non-academic skills. So you can actually just go through and work with the students and say, hey, this is what's needed. So how can we help you get to having all of these things? So this is why I like these toolkits. And you can see there's toolkits on a lot of different things like interagency agreements and the Transition Institute. So building capacity in a state. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. All right, the next one that we're going to look at, let me just pull up the PowerPoint again. Whoops. Is the Zaro Center. And The Zaro Center has transition assessments and a goal generator. Now that is $3 a student. They haven't figured out a way to make it free anymore because it does cost money to have all these things. They also have the self-determination assessments, AIR and ARC. They have a choice maker curriculum, choosing, expressing, and taking action on goals, the transition education materials, the Me lessons, the self-directed employment, transition resources for elementary and significant disabilities, and then there's also a great timeline, which we're going to take a look at. So here's all of the stuff that they have. As you can see, this is out of the University of Oklahoma. And, oops, there we go. So let's take a look at the Zaro Center. So here's that table of contents. So we'll just go down through here. So here's the tag. This is the one that costs $3, but you can go through, whoops, there we go. And you can create an account and it goes through, and notice it does say it works best in Chrome, Firefox, or Safari. Let me go back again. You have the self-determination assessment, so you want to see where your students score on self-determination, then you can use the AIR or the ARC or the choice maker self-determination assessment. So it depends on the level. You can see this one has a Spanish form, so there's a lot of different things that you can do with this. The choice maker self-determination curriculum, you can see they have assessments, employment goals, education goals, personal goals. They've got stuff on the self-directed IEP, taking action, so goal attainment, and you can actually download all of these for free. Then you have the transition education materials. So this one is some English language arts, objectives, and transition competencies. Here's another one that I'm going to focus on. So here is the Me lessons for self-awareness. So I'll click on that. And these are just, a lot of these are mini lessons that you can use for helping your students learn different skills. Like, for example, understanding self-awareness and self-advocacy. And then you just download this document and you can work on it with your students. So here's some things that you could ask them and help work with them on these. So these are really, really convenient and free. These are also the ways that you could actually integrate some of the transition stuff into the general ed classroom. So bringing this into, an English teacher and saying, hey, what if we have this as a warm-up activity? That brings me to another one, the bell ringers. So I did one of these in class the other week, but you can see that they have a whole website of different bell ringers, and you can download this on, so we've got pre-test and post-test, and we've got the overall ones and a PowerPoint on bell ringers. But these are all the different ideas that you could have for, quick assignments at the beginning of class to really start talking to your students about, there we go, self-awareness, or there's another one here, disability awareness. So how does your disability impact you in school? What things help you to overcome your disability? So these could just be tiny things that you're integrating into your classroom. All right, then you can see that there's even more resources here. Then you have the self-directed employment, and that gives a handbook for transition teachers and employment specialists. We've got significant disabilities and elementary disabilities transition resources. This will be this might be good for you when you're working on the family resource project. So, and then the timeline of activities. And I really love this resource. Oops, did I hit it? And let's just go through. I'm going to pull this open, and you can see birth to 5 years. These are the types of things you can do around transition. This is another good resource for your transition, or I'm sorry, your family resource project in your group. But you can see here's elementary, 5 to 10 years old, and these are all the things that you can start working with your children. Here's 10 to 14-year-olds, so that's the middle school transition. And then we'll scroll down. And here's the high school, 14 to 22-year-olds. So you can see there's a lot of really great things that we have access to that will help our students as they're trying to figure out and work through their transition. So this is Transition Module Section 3. So what are the resources you will use to support your students' development of their culturally responsive student transition presentation? And I'm sorry, I'm going to change that. You're going to actually get 2 out of 10 points for this answer. The big thing here is, once, I mentioned that you will be doing this transition with a student, and I want you to think about like, oh, okay, I'll use some of the me assignments, like a bell ringer or something, or I'll use the NTAC toolkit as I'm going through and helping my students. So those are the types of things, but I want like specific examples and some reasons why. So we're going to move on to the culturally responsive student transition presentation next.